All right, welcome back to another video. Today I'm actually going to be talking about who is Linux for. And when I talk about who is Linux for, I'm talking about like what type of individuals or what would they be using Linux for. And I feel like a lot of people, when they hear about Linux or when someone, talks about it, they jump straight to like either like the hacker or the cyber security type individual, which is kind of just like a very old way, of thinking of it, where at that time it was mainly just, a terminal and you're entering commands. There really was no desktop. Those times are long gone. As you can see, I'm on a Linux desktop right now, and I use it as my daily driver. And crazy enough, the categories that I'm going to talk about today, I kind of fit in all of them, but not everybody does. There are just different use cases for people who want to use Linux, and some distributions may be better for others, and there's just a lot of options and choice with how you can use Linux and what you want to use it for. So the main, I kind of categorize them in the main top 5 ones that I see. Who is Linux for? And number one, just being kind of the myth of it all, is the hacker and cybersecurity. They just have a lot more tools and access to different things that you can use to be able to do different type of things through cybersecurity in particular. Not really the hacker side of things, but more of the like penetration protection and stuff like that. And there's distros that are like geared around that, like Kali Linux and other ones that are literally specific for that and have all those pen tools and stuff that are available, by default and ready to go. That's kind of the number one, only because it is like the first one that everybody kind of thinks about. And then 2, I would say developers. Developers definitely, in my experience, have a better time developing on Linux, with it being a little bit more, in control. It is, for the most part, around the terminal, which you can use, virtually for everything within your Linux desktop or in your Linux setup itself. You can still get development done on Windows, but a lot of people who use Windows also use WSL, which is the Windows subsystem for Linux, and so that they still need it to do different aspects of their job and stuff. So, and in that case, you might as well just be on the platform that you are emulating on your Windows desktop. Don't get me wrong, there is plenty you can do on Windows, and you don't need to be on Linux to be a developer, but some things I have just found easier myself, being in the development background as well. So that's kind of number 2. Number 3, which is really number 1, to be honest with you, is the enthusiast. I believe that they're who are what make Linux, what it is today. And a lot of those enthusiasts are developers, because they are passionate about Linux and they are developing things for Linux, every day. Since it is open source, you can, develop and share those things, across the different, distributions and stuff. So everybody can kind of enjoy the things that, you have created. So I really like that as kind of like the core system is kind of just built from the actual users, which is just a great system, in my opinion, to be on, that it's built by the users. And a lot of those distributions and different apps and things are built by the community, which that just makes it easy for a lot of people to kind of be adapted and have the different communities to help them out when they do want to switch over to Linux. So number 3 would be the enthusiast, which honestly, like I said, is really number 1 when it comes down to it. And then 4, I'd say like 3 to 4-ish years ago, this would not even be a conversation. But I'd say gamers is a big reason people are coming to Linux and use Linux, because they want to get away from Windows. And Steam Deck had a big push in that, but even before that, just the ability to get away from all of the bloatware and the tracking and all the things that Microsoft and stuff does on their desktop, to have the freedom to get away with that and just be able to game, especially now with like SteamOS and stuff coming, ability to download directly onto your machine. You can literally just boot and straight into your Steam and start gaming right away. That is a great thing for the gaming community. So I definitely think that Linux is for gamers, and there's just so many different things that you can do within the gaming world, on Linux, and it's just becoming more and more better over the years. So I'd like to see that just continue to grow and just become become the norm. I know I made a video a long time ago about, gaming on Linux can be the norm. And I still believe that. Like, I really think with Steam and Valve that they're eventually going to, make that a reality. And even with PlayStation and Xbox trying to make Steam games available on their platforms and in future consoles and stuff, it is just going to become the base for gaming. And where it's SteamOS, it's on Linux. So yeah, so I do think that, gamers is a big portion of the Linux user base. And then number 5 is really just everyday users. And I say this lightly because typically the everyday user kind of rolls into the enthusiast portion of it. You normally do love Linux if you're going to use it as your daily driver. Not many people would just switch over for like really no other reason other than being told to. So it's probably the least out of all of the different types of Linux users, but I do feel like it is feasible for, everyday users to be on Linux. Like there's nothing you can't really do. I mean, yes, there are software and things that aren't available on Linux, but as far as a computing system, there's nothing you really can't do on Linux that you can do on Windows or Mac OS. So it's definitely, daily driver friendly. You can get all the different browsers, Chrome. I have the Zen browser. I have Brave. All the different browsers are available, and you can get a lot of those things done. And there are different types of other software, like if you want, your Word and Excel. I use only Office, so you're able to get documents, spreadsheets, and this looks just like Excel would and operates, and you can open Excel documents and stuff on here as well. So there are a lot of different options that are on Linux that you don't have to use the proprietary counterparts from like Microsoft and stuff like that. So my channel is really just to make people aware that Linux is a thing and it's available, and that it's not the scary place to be. I know, like, when you see a lot of Linux desktops, they have these terminals up and stuff like that. That's just for aesthetics. All this is doing is showing me what's running on my computer. It's no different than a task manager on Windows. So it's just a fancier way, or a better way that I think of doing it. But you don't have to do it that way. You can just use your computer the regular way with your Windows and everything on your computer, and just be on your way. So yeah, I just wanted to put out who is Linux for. It kind of just a broad amount of categories, but the main ones I would say are within the cybersecurity developers, enthusiast gamers, and your everyday users. And yeah, if there's any other ones, categories that you want to throw out there in the comments, please do. If you have been enjoying my content, please consider liking and subscribing, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.